see him every time I close my eyes.
You have lived comfortably, but soon you'll say, please, it hurts. Please let me give you more of my skin. Agony will be your finest hour. You ready? Flayed and grateful. All that hardest energy. Building until it bursts.
It's the second foundation! The place you made your home! It's your home! More than anything! Tell me!
Hello Foundation fans, fellow Mudbeards, and anyone who's super hyped for these final few episodes of Foundation. Let's go ahead and start this breakdown right with the confrontation between the Mule and Harry Seldon. We get an awesome verbal back and forth, as Harry Seldon you can already tell knows what the Mule's going to be going after, with the Mule asking if his reign is as prominent as he thinks it is. And Harry Seldon, without hesitation, is like, yeah, you're doing great. The Mule finds a lot of pride in this, almost as if he's achieved some sort of goal, or at least a personal goal of his. And sure, there could be a sense of pride in changing the galaxy in such a significant way, but I like that Harry Seldon quickly puts together that there's something else he's here for and he should quickly get to it. I do think there was an amazing moment here where they're actually talking and the Mule attempts to use his powers to find out more about Gale Dornick. What's amazing here is it immediately doesn't work and he switches to a fake facade, trying to put down Harry for not being ahead of his own plan when it's already too late. Harry's piecing together that his pride has already been wounded. This I feel is a perfect representation for the Mule as a character, constantly putting up a display of power even when he doesn't actually have any. The minute he realized his mentalic capabilities wasn't going to work and he couldn't tap into Harry's mind. And then I really enjoy Jared Harris' performance here because he really just puts the Mule down. Not only with his mocking head tilt towards him, his pouting, patronizing expression when he's looking at the Mule. This is honestly probably one of my favorite moments of Harry Seldon in the entire series outside of when he was losing his mind. And he keeps it going. The Mule realizes there's not much else he can do here and decides to walk away, and Harry Seldon, doing something that I was thinking he should have done a long time ago, simply uses the vault's capabilities and almost takes down the Mule right then and there. Similar to Warden Yeager in Season 2, who was used as an example. And even the Mule, someone who's caused so much chaos around the galaxy, is brought down a peg, asking Harry Seldon why he even let him live in the first place. And Harry Seldon is also putting together that the Mule has a secret. How he's putting this together I'm not quite sure just yet, but again, this is someone who helped develop psychohistory, so he is a very capable individual of figuring out whatever the Mule's twist could eventually be. And while some people did advocate for the fact that the Mule could just be the Mule himself and maybe there is no other person leading him or controlling him in any way, I personally fall in line to the fact that someone is out there messing with the Mule, or at least working with the Mule. Who that could be? Many theories out there. Check out some videos on the channel, or even my most recent Mule video. We then get the reveal that Dawn has actually survived being shot out into space from Clarion Station. After being stranded for days, apparently he's actually rescued by a whisper ship. Now there's several questionable things about this rescue. One, why did Brother Dawn's nanites not go off when he actually ended up leaving? There was no verbal context for what actually happened, except Demerzel did mention that few moments after he went flying out there, his nanites went offline. So either Demerzel is lying here, or something else is going on in Dawn's story that we just don't know about. There's also the incredible fact that a whisper ship was able to find him floating in the vacuum of space. If anyone thinks that this is the future and there's sci-fi technology that would allow them to track Dawn down, why wouldn't Demerzel be able to do so? And let's say he even did have his Imperial nanites. We know in this universe it's very hard to find people stranded in space. The Empire not finding the captain of the ship that invaded the Invictus, who got betrayed by Farrakeen and whose body was left stranded in space, they didn't end up finding him until 100-something years in Season 2. And it was that moment that clued them into the fact that the Foundation could be up to something, and kind of sparked a lot of the events that went down there. All that be it to say, essentially when someone's stranded in space, the minute they're found, usually that's a pretty big impact for the show. And Dawn, when he wakes up, is cared for and meets Bayta Mallow, who reveals that during the fall of New Terminus, the Null field had knocked her out pretty heavily. And when she woke up there. She does make a small comment about how she usually feels like she's headstrong, and there is a weird focus on her after this moment. I have my own theories about this moment that I'll go ahead and touch later in the video as they could be a little spoilery, But eventually, the Mule pays them a visit and is excited to soak up all of Empire's knowledge he has within his mind. And it's obvious his torment of Brother Don is becoming a little much for Bayta, who asks him to stop, deciding to readjust his focus more on Gale Dornick. But what's going on with Gale Dornick exactly? Well, after her confrontation with Demrazel and hearing about the fall of New Terminus, she makes her way back to Second Foundation to figure out the next best steps. See, universally, the best idea would be to take the Second Foundation and move them out of there. They're pretty surprised that their plan of serving up Empire on a silver platter didn't exactly pan out. But if they can keep the Second Foundation safe, there's still a chance to stop the Mule. Unfortunately, the one caveat to this entire plan is Han Pritchard. Han Pritchard, a master of information, is within the Mule's grasps. And while he isn't necessarily under the Mule's influence yet, Gale takes it upon herself, being one of the strongest mentalics the Second Foundation has, to go and not only confront the Mule, but presumably save or stop Han Pritchard, leaving the Second Foundation in Preem's hands, who definitely seems like a capable leader. So presumably while she's going to be doing the next few things we see here, Preem's going to be going out and hiding the Second Foundation. And I assume Gale's kind of already pieced together that the Mule could potentially be waiting for her, which he is. She visits Harry's statue, as we've seen these statues represent the fallen, and we find that her character comes to regret not having enough time to really focus on things that are important. Yes, she's fighting for the most important thing, and that is humanity's survival, but she forgets to show love and care to the people who deserve it. Her character has lost a lot of her empathy throughout these 3 seasons. In the first season, all she cared about was starting a life and focusing on a family and the future. But then, over the course of season 2, she gets wrapped up in Harry Seldon's plan and tries to fix it, as she was the one who kind of messed it up. And now we find in season 3 she's fully devoted and dedicated to the plan, to the point that she's willing to let the people of Calgon die on a gamble that didn't actually work out. And not only that, there's also the fact that she never really bonded with Salvor or even Harry in the time that she had with them. Sure, there were small moments like giving Salvor a birthday present, or Harry and her finally bonding after Salvor's passing, but you could see that she has regret for not telling the people she cares about she loves them, and I think this is going to tie directly into Han Pritchard. Meaning at some point before the season ends, she'll likely tell Han Pritchard that she loves him. My personal theory is that she'll tell him this right before she takes him down because he's been compromised. And while book fans may find that a little surprising for reasons I've explained in previous videos, I do think Gale's story is not really going to end unless it ends with the show in a happy and family-oriented way. Although potentially she could just say she loves him and it could be too late and he could already be converted and maybe that's just a heartbreaking moment. Either way, she heads off to New Terminus with some other Mentalics, and when she arrives, they seem to have an escape route with the beggar as she takes a look at the vault for the very first time. Or in her world, Harry's casket. But let's go ahead and cut back to what's been going on Trantor. Demrazel arrives home from her vacation, letting Dusk know about Dawn's fate in the same way I would let my friend know I totaled their car. And with Dusk receiving this information, he's incredibly heartbroken. But at least he has Quint to help support him and remind him of how great Dawn really was. Unfortunately, there is a political ambush, and 3 of the galaxy's most prominent powers at this point decide to approach Empire, who is currently down 2 Cleons, including their Prime. These 3 representatives, one of Cloud Dominion that we saw in Season 2, one of the Galactic Council that we've been seeing, and one being a Zephyr from the Church of Luminism. They basically remind Empire that the 3 of them represent trillions of souls, and to put that into perspective, this world doesn't even have a trillionaire yet. With all this digital ethereal currency flowing around, you'd think someone would just add a few numbers and give themselves that title already. But who knows, I wouldn't be surprised if they're already working on that. Point is, in Foundation, Cloud Dominion was one of the most prominent houses and factions within the galaxy. The Empire willing to take down the most opposed of their family to establish a provisional marriage with them. Luminism is home to the largest religious following that we've seen so far, and while I originally thought that Demrazel could have created Luminism, part of me also wonders if she was just a devout follower, just at some point within her life. I also like to note that the Cloud Dominion refused to join the Galactic Council when they were established, remaining independent, which I honestly can appreciate considering the events of Season 2. And with them pushing Dusk like this, I think calling him the Conciliator is definitely going to be a mistake. But to be fair, the Council has obviously been planning this moment for quite a while. if it wasn't clearly indicated in them knowing when Brother Dusk would ascend by the hour. Like, Brother Dusk was genuinely about to tackle the Galactic Council member to the ground. The power and prowess that the Empire has had is almost completely gone at this point. Dusk, with everything going on, really doesn't want to die, partially because dying sucks, but also because he really doesn't want to let the universe sort of beat him. It seems he's the face of the Empire, and the galaxy is trying to take the Empire down. Everyone knows that when a Cleon's pride is wounded, things can get pretty darn hectic. And he kind of alludes to this fact about the Navacula with Demerzel, who he realizes had no idea the Navacula even existed, which is another indicator of the Empire's decline, as she's been so busy trying to keep things under wraps and in control that she's failed to see what some of the Cleons are up to, like Dawn getting caught up with Gale in the Second Foundation, or like Dusk in the Navacula. And Demerzel's been struggling to fit the pieces together since season 1, but it was verbally indicated in season 2. She tried to get with Brother Day the 17th, who blew up Terminus, because she was hoping that she could sway him from doing crazy things that empires normally do. And obviously that didn't work out. Demerzel then goes to meet with the Zephyr, who, interestingly enough, we do get a look at Foundation's version of Severance technology. Either way, the Zephyr meets with Demerzel and discusses how powerful Luminism really is. And per their previous conversations, talks about how they could potentially even free Demerzel and hold safe harbor for her should she ever escape. Specifically, when she talks about how powerful Luminism is, you could tell this was the moment she really messed up. And Demerzel also realized this. See, Luminism is powerful, extremely powerful, and with the Empire at their current moment and the threat of a religious insurrection long ago predicted in season 1, I think all things are being built to the point where Demerzel's about to work with Dusk to use the Navacula and take everybody down. Why do I think this? Well, Demerzel specifically references Zephyr Halima, who she really did care for and really did want to survive, but was ordered by Brother Day the 13th to put her down. And while she did so gently, she did it with a lot of regret in her eyes. She basically neglects her devotion to Luminism with this future sin she's about to commit, and gives her Salt Stone to the Zephyr. And if you want to hear more about Luminism and what the Salt Stone is, or the Maiden, or anything they were talking about, feel free to check out my Foundation Religions video. So we have Gale ready to fight the Mule, we have the Mule versus the God of Psychohistory, and we have Demerzel and Dusk preparing to blow up everybody around them. Where does that leave the one and only Brother Dude? Well, last episode he went through his ego death, and this episode we get to see the result of that. See, Brother Dude is being tried by the Inheritance or the Faith to see if he's guilty for the sins of Empire, or if he has any truth to say. And throughout this exchange, Sunmaster 18 is really advocating for the guilty side. Not even because he doesn't even believe Brother Dude, but because it's just not in his best interest. Which, logistically, that does make sense. If Brother Dude makes it out of this situation, I guarantee it's gonna lead to Sunmaster's demise or losing control of everything he had. And part of me really wasn't expecting the robot head to actually work, but when Brother Dude questions it, it actually does come to life. It's during this time the Inheritance goes through a body performance of the history of the Robot Wars. Essentially, humans created robot servants, and with these robot servants they expanded into the stars, probably helping develop spacers altogether as well. And through their expansion they built the Galactic Empire. However, the Empire eventually did fall, and through the history of the Robot Wars, which you can check out on my timeline video or my Kalle video, you could see that different robots were marked for extermination. I believe this ties into the green marking that was used in season 2 between Brother Dusk, Brother Dawn, and Demerzel, as a sign of the betrayer. But they then reveal that the prophesized daneel is meant to return and guide humanity in the right direction, and become the savior. Personally, I think this prophecy could have been set up by Demerzel in some way. I kind of expand on that thought in my Demerzel and Kalle video. But essentially, the robot head starts to sing Demerzel's song. And I like how in this moment, Brother Dude and let's just say Lee Pace gives an astonishing performance in sort of telling everybody how Foundation works when it comes to its characters.
Look, I think we all tell ourselves stories to make sense of the tiny roles we all play in a vast and wildly complicated galaxy. I know I have.
Either way, Brother Dude puts together that the robot is attempting to class with other robots, searching for someone to share memories with, or knowledge or data, which really does put something else into perspective. If the robots would sing this song or melody whenever they were searching for some form of connection, it means Demerzel has spent countless times sitting in the decampment chamber singing these songs to the Cleons. While I initially took it as a form of nurturing behavior, I honestly wonder if this was her just hoping to connect with anybody out there. Logic dictates, yeah, she can't connect with the Cleons no matter how close she is, no matter how much she pays attention to them and raises them properly. She'll never find that connection that she's actually seeking, which honestly is a very human behavior. And it makes the scene of her holding a crying Cleon in her lap and singing the song even sadder. For humans, this is the best we can get in regards to what that melody will provide us. For Demoiselle, she knows and has probably witnessed so much more of what the clasp and that melody could do in regards to connecting different people. Either way, despite all of this, Sunmaster 18, I guess, speaks for the inheritance, but I thought was speaking to the inheritance, and decides that Brother Dude deserves remediation, which essentially means he's going to turn into a fungal soup of some kind. And despite Brother Dude trying to reach out to him one last time, it turns out that Sunmaster had already seen Brother Dude's memories, or I guess songs. And with that, there's not really much else Brother Dude could do, and he's dropped into a giant sarlacc pit, or I guess a pit of black mushroom juice. And with that, I gotta say, this episode was a pretty incredible one. I'm really enjoying the setup they've done for these final 2 episodes, and Foundation fans know that the last 2 episodes are usually some of the best. And for the final 2 episodes of the season, I am going to be live streaming at some point throughout the weekend. I'm going to be shooting for right after the episode releases so we can discuss it. If anything changes, I'll update it in the polls, which feel free to contribute to. But essentially, once the episode releases, I'll go live to just kind of discuss things and what goes down. Remember, last season when the episode ended, we had the destruction of the entire planet of Terminus. And this season, we've already had several planets get destroyed, so it leaves you wondering what's going to go down by the end of the next episode. And how will they tie it together in the final episode? Either way, feel free to come meet up on the channel and discuss it with me when we go live. But I appreciate the support, I appreciate the feedback. Are my eyes uneven? What? And remember to never try to read Harry's mind.